Well, second week in our series, Elemental, trying to break down the holidays and not be so frenzied and crazy. It's a time of year when most of us are on autopilot right now. Is anybody on autopilot? Got a gift in your mind, got a list, who you got to get it for. You got to figure out, is this item too big or too small? What are they going to get me? You're figuring out whether you're going to have to go to Macy's for this person or the dollar store for this person or the re-gift closet for that other person. I know you have a re-gift closet. Is anybody willing to admit in public they have a re-gift closet? Yes, yes, honesty in the church. Hallelujah. Some people are tough, and they rack your brains, they make you rack your wallet. And so this is something that we've done at the River every year now for 9 years, and it's a free service. Doesn't cost you anything, but it's our annual gift-giving segment. And so we went and did your shopping for you, personal shopper for you, and we do it for two reasons. We want you to have satisfied people on your gift list, and we also want you to just look really good and classy. So let's go ahead and just go through some things that we found for you. We found a waterproof notebook for $16.95 for that person who's always writing notes and putting it in their pocket, but they're incontinent. Next. Sudoku toilet paper. Next, $4.06. Pet commode. They're going to drink out of it anyway, so you might as well give them their own. Snail cream face cream. Ladies. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups cologne. That's not so bad. $6. Pepperoni pizza shirt. See, look at that's cute. See? Wait. I bought you one already. I expect you to wear it for Christmas. All right. Lobster cologne spray. Maybe he's not into you, but maybe he's into lobster, I guess. All right. Jesus action figure. Yeah. I'm not even going to say it out loud. But it does. Anybody watch Walking Dead? Kind of looks like it come off of that show. Okay. Now, this is kind of cool. Electric guitar T-shirt. And you know, for $59.95, it better come with a real guitar too, right? How to Be President book. You can pick that up for $5.29 and send it to who you need to send it to. Next. This is a real thing. It is solid gold and gem Monopoly board game. $2 million. You're welcome. The really smart people in this room, if you're really smart, if you're really with it, are not going to buy any Christmas gifts this year. And why is that? Because the end of the world's coming on the 21st. Why would you mess around with this? Why are you stressing out? It's going to be all over with. You're wasting your time. Do something fun. All right. I'm not going to give you a bunch of stats today. I have a couple for you, but not a bunch. But I'd like you to really listen to the heartbeat of something that Linda Kuhlman writes. And she's referring to this concept that even the poorest person in America still lives at the 90% level of wealth in the world. She says, we are a nation that believes in having it all. In 1950, American families owned one car and saved for a second. In 2000, nearly 1/5 of families own 3 cars or more. Listen really carefully to this one. We shell out more for garbage bags than 90 of the world's 210 countries spend for everything. I'm going to read that one more time so you can get this. We shell out more for garbage bags than 90 of the world's 210 countries spend for everything. Indeed, America has double the number of malls than it does high schools. You talk to people who go on missions trips to other countries, and even when we go to Wahiwa, even when you go to different areas in America, there's this marked difference. There's this gulf where there is very little, and we have so much, especially in the Midwest where we're at. And so we get this skewed vision of what reality is in the world because we're kind of insulated. And living in America, and particularly I'd say in the Midwest, it's done a strange thing to us because we have so much, yet we're still not satisfied. And you got all the ads everywhere that are saying you need the latest, you need the best, you need. So you got all this pressure to actually buy, to measure up. And then there's these expectations that come at Christmas that you got to kind of match gifts. You know, oh, well, they're going to give me this, so I pretty much have to give them that. And so when the holidays are over, you feel sad and you feel broke. And so I would invite you to look at this Christmas season a little bit differently, and that you would just enter in and submit even your gift giving to God this year. And that you would be able to get past the new year and not be sad and not be broke, not have the holiday blues, the holiday bills, and just listen to what God would have for you to hear today. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17 and 19. Sometimes when you're reading the Bible, you're like, I'm not sure if this Bible verse is for me. Have you ever had that, like, I don't know if I get this Bible verse. If ever there was a Bible verse that is for you individually, this is it. Remembering that even the poorest person in America is in the 90% of wealth in the world. Command those who are rich in this present world. Turn to your neighbor and say, that would be you. I'm serious. Turn to your neighbor and say, that would be you. God's talking to you right now. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant or put their hope in wealth. Say, hope in wealth with me. Hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Can you say with me, hope in God? Hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good and to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and to be willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation in the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Wealth is not bad. It doesn't say that. In fact, it says that God gives us stuff, gives us things in order to have enjoyment of life. That's part of it. It says he provides us with everything for our enjoyment. But he says, don't put your hope in wealth. Now, so what does that mean? You're like, well, I don't put any hope in wealth because I don't have as much as the next guy. That's not what's being said here. To put your hope in wealth means to think that money buys anything other than stuff. And so a test that you might put yourself to right today is, do you use wealth in any way, or what you have? If wealth is a hang-up word for you, like that counts me out, I'm not wealthy. If just what you have is ever used to impress somebody else, that's your hope in wealth. Is it to feel better about yourself? Have you bought? Do you save? Does money make you feel better than another person? Does it make you feel higher than another person? Does money and stuff make you feel more secure about your future? You can take that test conversely. If you don't have money, do you feel less about yourself? When you don't have money, do you feel less than other people? You're like, oh, if I was what they got, I don't. And when you don't have, do you feel less secure about your future? Do you feel anxious? I'll never, what if this happened? And you know, if you're anywhere in the measure of that, and we're all growing in these areas, you're putting your hope in wealth. But to put your hope in God is to know that everything that you have is from God. He's your provider. Everything you have comes from Him. Everything you're going to need comes from Him. He is indeed your provider. He is your hope for now. He is your hope for the future. And so there's something that lightens up, even the spirit of the room lightens up when I talk about this, that He's the guy. He's the one who is giving you everything you need. Even when you feel like there's a lack, you really look at it, He's giving you everything you need. And so we can possess money and we can possess things, but we never own it because it all comes from God. And so we can enjoy wealth. We can enjoy things, but this is given for something more. It's got to go further than this. What God gives us goes to make a difference in the world. He has given you gifts so you can do something and make a difference in this world. When He says give your first 10% to the church, it's because the church is the hope of the world, and this is the light where people find life. God's not trying to steal from you. He's trying to give to you by saying invest in this thing. It's worth it. It should grab your heart and it should change you. And when you're giving your offerings to other things that are going on in the church or outside the church, you do it because He is your provider and you're a vessel that He moves through and He goes through. And all of those gifts, all those things that you give, when you're looking at your neighbor, when you're looking at somebody in need, those are stored in heaven. And so if you want a royal bank account, you give. Because that's all stored in heaven. When it says they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age. It's heaven. You're investing in heaven. Our hearts know to do good and to be rich in good deeds. We know this. It's inside of us. And our hearts are troubled when there's things that are wrong in this world. How many here have asked that cosmic question, God, why is there so much pain and so much famine and so much suffering in this world? You know, why is that? And I think if you would listen after you ask that question, really listen, I think you would find God asking you the same question. That's right. That is right, Dale. Why is there so much pain and suffering in the world? Why aren't you doing something about it? There's a book called Irresistible Revolution. Shane Claiborne writes this book a few years ago, and he gives a recount where he's in a business meeting. He says, not long ago, a few friends and I were talking with some very wealthy executives about what it means to be the church and to follow Jesus. One businessman confided, I too have been thinking about following Christ and what that means, so I had this made. He pulled up his sleeve to reveal a bracelet engraved with WWJD, what would Jesus do? It was custom made of solid 24-karat gold. Maybe each of us can relate to this man, both in his earnest desire to follow Jesus and bound up in the materialism of our culture. He has a distorted execution of that desire. The executive in this case was on the right track. He's on his way to encountering Jesus, but his expression of the faith is kind of twisted and altered, wouldn't you think? And before you give yourself a pass, how many times do we go out and we buy the plaque for the house? And we buy the bumper sticker for the car, and we buy the necklace. And so people can look at you and say, hey, I know your house and your car and your neck are saved. But what about you? It's an acting, what would Jesus do for real, and maybe not getting a solid 24-karat gold piece of bling to prove it. So, why has God given you what you have? And what does He want you to do with it? Verse 18 says, command them to do good and to be rich in good deeds and to be generous and willing to share. And so Christmas is that opportunity to be generous, to share. It's what people expect. That's a good thing. Gifts aren't bad. But you shouldn't be driven to be buying. You should be directed by God in how you shop and who you shop for and what you give, because your money is not really yours. It's God, and it's on loan to you, right? And I know that people are like, don't touch my shopping list, Pastor. Now you're gone to meddling. I think I'm going to freedom. And so this Christmas, I'm just inviting you, would you spend your money God's way? Verse 19, if you spend money God's way, in this way they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, which is heaven, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life, instead of that frenzied Christmas crazy life that we go for. Now I am going to meddle. Spending God's money right means not spending money you don't have. Did you hear me loud and clear? Spending God's money means not spending money you don't have. That's freedom. That is hope. Why do we do this thing that we keep zipping the card and then we kill ourselves for the next 3 to 6 months and then Christmas comes again? And it could be that Christmas is that one thing that should be a blessed, holy day that we are celebrating and we're happy about, and it shouldn't be the thing that is the bondage and the noose around our neck that we wear for a decade or two, right? That's freedom. Some of you, that's all you needed to hear today. Some of you are probably going to go from here to home and get the stuff you already had and go in and return it now, before Christmas, before they only give you 25% of what you paid for it after the holidays, right? You have permission to stop buying stuff. There's people that you don't need to impress. There's people who don't even need what you're giving them. You can't afford it. They're just going to return it anyways. Or it's going to go in their re-gift closet. Right? Yes, your gifts make it in re-gift closets. I'm sorry to tell you that. Not my gifts. Yes, your gifts make it into re-gift closets. I'm telling you, unless they're fruitcakes. Many people are going to be less offended than you think. Cindy and I learned this the hard way and the easy way because we didn't mean to do it. But 6 years ago when we were doing this theater, it took everything that we had. We had nothing. We had no time. We had no money. And when Christmas came, we're like, oh, yeah, it's Christmas. Oh, well. And we felt kind of bad. But we knew where our money and our resources went was okay. We had peace about that. But not everybody heard about where we were at. And they would give us gifts like they always did. And we had nothing. And I'll tell you, it was uncomfortable. It was like, ooh, I forgot about this. Oh, it's uncomfortable. Thank you, It was rough. But still in our heart, we knew what we did was right. And you want to know what the reaction was with everybody? I don't know whether they were all lying or not, but they were cool with that. And they were blessed. And they kind of laughed, too, because we said, well, we did buy you something. It's a commercial door push and a fire extinguisher, and you can come and visit them at the river anytime you want. And we were serious. It wasn't a joke. We were like, hey, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of funny. I'm like, we're serious. Come and visit them. And it helped us to re-look and refocus at what Christmas was all about. And we had some really deep conversations with some of our close friends, like, why are we so compelled to buy things for each other on this holiday? And sometimes we're just forcing it into existence. Isn't our time together enough? In fact, why don't we increase that and not do all this other stuff? Especially when we really have everything we need and then some. What I really like is the impromptu giving. When you see something that screams that individual and you go and you get it, right? Whenever I see that, you know what bling is, you know? A necklace with big dollar sign and fake stones in it, and it usually costs like $3. When I see that kind of stuff, I think of Sean, our worship leader. And so I grab it for him, you know, and it goes with all of his other cheap stuff. And he's not here, and I can say that. But it's going on the World Wide Web. Hi, Sean. Or when you're at Goodwill in the $1.99 section of the men's shirts and you see a crazy Hawaiian shirt, you grab it for Brian Taylor. Get him too. Or you know that those questionable Christmas sweaters that are out there. Everybody know kind of what I'm talking about? Holly Jolly Christmas. If you ever see those, but they're in the form of a sweater vest, you get it for Michael. You see, it's possible to turn down the Christmas autopilot frenzy and actually turn it into life that is truly life. And the people that you were friends with, you get them something. Sometimes it's Christmas, sometimes it's not. But can we just relax? Can we just spend our money the way that God would have us spend it? And so that's with friends. That's with family. Our giving has to go further than our friends and family. Storing up treasure in the coming age has a lot to do with those who just don't have. Micah 6:8. You're like, you know, the Bible's so big, Pastor, I just don't know what God wants from me. Micah 6:8, one verse. The Lord has told us what is right and what he demands. See that justice is done. Let mercy be your first concern, and humbly obey your God. The Bible is huge, but he just says that. Justice, mercy, and obey your God with humility. So instead of all this pressure to find the $20 paperweight for that rich uncle so you can make sure you're in the will, you know, or that crazy aunt you can't get anything for and you end up getting her gift card to Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever you're going to do this thing, you know. Instead of all that searching, God's inviting you to look harder. Would you look for the person who has been treated unjustly, either by society or just by life? Things came crashing down on them, and they weren't ready for it, and they're down here, and they got nothing. And no one's looking that low. They're too busy looking at the sale tags at Macy's. And God's saying, look lower. Would you look lower? Look, there's people that have been treated unjustly. They can't get up, and no one's looking for them, and there's nobody looking to match gifts with them. Would you look for that? And would you exhibit mercy with what you have been given? And would you humbly distribute that to them in obedience to God? I mean, the opportunities to do justice are everywhere. Some of you people know single moms that are suffering. And everything came tumbling down in their life. And you might say, well, they should have been ready for that. You know, they just should have been, you know, it didn't happen to me, and so it shouldn't have happened to them. But it happened to them. And this is where they're at. And, you know, they got a car that's on its third missed oil change. Could you just change their oil for them? Couldn't you just lend a hand? Couldn't you just look and say, let's do that thing? Maybe it's a young family with just lots of doctor bills. They just need some help. They just need a break. They need some solutions. Can't you just look their way? Maybe there's a senior that spends way too much time alone. It's not going to cost you a nickel, but maybe it'll cost you a couple hours to sit with this person. And that's what justice and mercy and humility is all about. How many times, like we've had this giving tree, and we will hear a report even 3 years later about how touched they were that somebody gave them exactly what they wanted, and they didn't even know who it was. That's meant so much to me. That's meant so much to our family. The reports we hear when we do our Christmas caroling, which is coming up on the 16th again, and we go to do the retirement homes and be like, you know what? No one ever comes around here. So, some of these folks haven't even had a visitor all year. None of the family comes out. They live too far away, whatever that is. And it means something. It impacts them. And you think that it's just me just going and singing a song. No, it's Jesus incarnating himself through you. And maybe you don't feel it, but it's true. When our time and money goes to somebody who is going to be affected by it, we move from being pressure-driven to being satisfaction-based in our life. And that's how we take a hold of the life that is truly life. When you give well, and I tell you this from my heart, I tell you this because not only the Bible says it's true, but I have lived it, anemic faith gets an energy charge. And you get joy, and that's where the joy of a season comes in. And the pressure is taken away. So you have permission. Return some of those gifts. Give it to more meaningful cause or to bring meaning to it. Ask God, actually. Say, God, what should I do? What should I give? Should I buy this thing? Should I not buy this thing? And then after Christmas is over, believe it or not, it applies to all of your Christian walk. I want to leave the world a better place. And I'm pretty sure another $20 paperweight or a chia head is not going to do that, right?